There he is. Hello.
Hey there, how's it going?
It's going great. How's everything going out there?
Good. It looks nice out there.
I know. Well, you were in Charleston, South Carolina, and it's a beautiful day, and so we're outside. Why not, right?
Yeah,
Normally,
no, I support that.
normally we're stuck in a studio, but
Yeah,
here we
I hear
are.
you. Yeah, yeah. I'm indoors. I will be going outside once I'm done.
Yeah. Well, of course, the nature of your business leaves you
Yeah,
indoors a lot of times, right?
exactly. Yeah.
That's great. Well, we're so excited to have you on with this steak. What a cool book. You got to be so
Thank you.
excited. I, as someone who has put out a book, I know how much work goes into this. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I mean it feels like the culmination of years and years of work. Every time a novel comes out, you remember almost every little step of the journey, and it's not like comics which have a churn, like you can put one out a month and it's this cycle of a very short cycle. With prose, it's a much longer runway.
Yeah. And when did you realize that you first realized that you had the gift? Because it truly is a gift.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I always wanted to create stories ever since I was a kid. I was a pretty avid and early reader, and then I'd find myself writing stories that would either exist in these worlds I was reading or just new things. And I didn't even think of it of I'm writing, you know, that came later as I got older and figured out that I liked doing it and I was pretty good at it.
Yeah. And then, of course, I can't draw for anything. I mean, I can do stick figures, maybe cave drawings on a good day. But, but,
Yeah.
were you always one of those kids that was just sketching all the time?
I don't think I'm up to snuff to be a professional artist, but I was always very visually inclined. And
Yeah.
so comics were a big draw to me. And so I'm always impressed by artists like Sandy, who did the artwork for Alter Ego, that can give that attention to detail and kind of page layout. It's really fascinating.
Yeah. And then, of course, you've got the writing thing is something that people generally either have or they don't have. Was there maybe a teacher or somebody that encouraged you and just said, you've got it?
Yeah, I was really blessed as a kid. I had a lot of teachers that were supportive, especially of reading early on, but then of also writing. I had two great creative writing teachers in college that were very, just positive in their reinforcement, and I'm still in touch with them today. It's just, those are invaluable relationships.
Yeah. Now, of course, the book itself is really a fascinating read. Tell us about what everybody's going to be get into here because this is something that's really cool because it's very different.
Yeah, Alter Ego is a standalone sequel to Secret Identity, my LA Times Book Prize winning crime novel set in comics in the 70s. Alter Ego is set in the present day, and it follows Annie Bustamante, who is a former comic book artist who's gone on to become a pretty well-renowned filmmaker, except when we find her, she's between projects because her last movie was shelved for tax reasons, and she's kind of between gigs. Um, so to pass the time, she's working on a comic book based on a character she loves, and she's doing it for fun because she doesn't own the character called the Legendary Lynx, an obscure hero from the 70s. And as she's working on this and watching her daughter, who's a young preteen, um, she hears from a company that claims to own the character, and they say, "We're going to relaunch this IP as part of this big like cinematic campaign. We're going to do TV, movies, video games, but we want to start with a comic that you write and you draw, and we want you to spearhead this thing." And to her, it feels like a dream come true. But as she gets deeper and deeper into the project, she realizes there's some dark forces working behind the scenes, and that maybe what they're saying about who owns the character and who created the character is very different from the reality. And at the same time, she's getting warnings from these mysterious Signal app users who are telling her, "Hey, stay away. You're gonna put yourself and your family at risk." And she finds out that's true as she digs deeper. And as you read the novel, there are interstitial comic book pages that show you the story that Annie is creating as you're reading her story, kind of fighting for this character to come to light.
Yeah, that's so cool. And
Thank
of
you.
course, people look up to what you do, and it's certainly not easy. What kind of advice would you give to somebody that wants to follow in your footsteps and write a great book?
I would just say, the hardest part is finishing something. I think it's very easy the early days of a project are always easy. You're kind of excited, you're putting stuff on paper, and then immediately, like maybe a third or two-thirds into the book or the comic, you start getting that other idea that you would much rather work on because the writing of this idea has gotten hard. So my big advice to other writers is finish something, type the end, go back, edit it, make it as good as it can be, and then you can move on to the next thing because you're not really going to be able to fully move on or have credits under your name until you finish stuff and get it going. Maybe it'll never go anywhere. Maybe that'll be the novel that lives in the drawer, but you've learned so much from that process that the next book is going to be even better.
Yeah. Now, my co-host Drew Pearson, one of our great Dallas Cowboys, caught the Hail Mary, went to the Hall of Fame. We love to ask people their Hail Mary moment. So, what was that Hail Mary moment for you? That moment in your life or career where you just had to go for it and it worked out for you?
I think, you know, writing Secret Identity, I think was a Hail Mary moment. It was a little bit of a risk because I had just finished writing these acclaimed, like very gritty PI novels and that were very much entrenched in the crime genre. And Secret Identity was a little bit of a departure because it was a risk to put in the comics in the book. And, you know, something different that I don't think people were used to. And it was a little bit of a it was not as violent or as action packed as some of my earlier books. It was very much a character study, but those are the books I like to read that really get into characters' heads and show you what their motivations are and what their lives are like. Um, so the success of that book felt very much like a validation of what I was thinking.
That's great. And of course, part of that is that success mindset. Us creative types, we're very hard on ourselves. So, what do you
Yeah.
tell yourself that keeps you in the right mindset, even when things are tough?
My thing is to not look backwards, just look forward, keep on keeping on. Like, you know, you can't compare everything. You can't compare yourself to everyone else. You're just doing the best you can do in that moment. And I think people get tangled up in that comparison, like, oh, why did this person get that? Or why has that book had this success? And that's normal, but I think you need to be able to pump the brakes on that and just focus on the work. That's all you can control, the book you're writing.
That's right. And what would you like people to get out of this besides, oh, it's a great book? Because there's a lot going on here and a lot to think about.
I think it's a story about, you know, the links we'll go to as creators to see our stories come to life. So it's a little bit about art versus commerce, a lot about like the trauma we go through and how we can overcome that to become better people or better people than we thought we could be. I think that's really the journey that Annie is going on. You see a lot of her past and her struggles and I think it culminates in a really, I'm very proud of that last line. I won't say it because obviously it'll spoil the book, but I think the journey of that book is Annie, is her ability to overcome her past and become the person she always wanted to be.
Yeah, good. Well, last thing I know, the work is never done. So,
Right.
are you already working on another book or show, or what's next for you?
I'm working on a Daredevil novel with the Marvel hero Daredevil as a crime novel coming out from Hyperion Avenue sometime next year. And I'm doing a lot of comics for Marvel and DC. The Question, All Along the Watchtower, Star Wars, The Battle of Jakku, and Dick Tracy for Mad Cave. So keeping busy. It's good.
Yeah. Hey, what a great life. I mean, you grow up with these, with these characters, and now you're in it.
Yeah, no, I have no complaints.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for doing what you do. Keep doing what you do because as a former comic book reader, an author, now, yeah, it's we just got to keep going and get the next generation of great stories, right?
Yeah, exactly. Thanks so much for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, bye bye.
Take care.